Good evening. This is the Planning Commission regular session, Cape Charles Civic Center, 500 Tazewell Avenue, October 2nd, 2018. Can I get a roll call, please?
Rosenberg.
McCoy present.
D'Amico present. Salvo present.
Cosmic present.
Let me know that we have a quorum. Would everybody please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tracy, do we have any public comments?
You have some signing up right now.
I don't know if we have to say anything, but
Okay.
just in case. So.
Oh, okay.
That was.
Mr. Chairman, both of our speakers were 729, 730 Randolph.
Okay.
We have Bert Turner from Eastville, Virginia.
I would like to remind everybody you have 3 minutes to talk. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Obviously, this is the last item on the agenda. If you just want to get to me then, is it?
No. Would you like, this is the public comment. I'll let you talk. I mean, if you just want to, you can talk when we get to that item if you'd like to.
I'll do that.
Okay, that's fine. Any
And
other?
the other one is, she with Mr. Turner, Howard Markweed? Markweed.
I'm the applicant, I guess, on the building at 729, 730 Randolph Avenue. It's behind, in case you're not familiar, it's behind the dentist office. Faces the parking lot and faces the street. And it's in the process of being sold, and the person that's buying it wants to have 4 apartments in it. And there's one, I guess, on the first floor that's been grandfathered, or we've been using it as it's Mr. Craig built it and he used to live there. And it's one of the special things I mentioned, being the first floor, it's ADA accessible, and I think there are very few places in Cape Charles that are. I used to own a condo over the park where we had to live, and that was at the time, as far as I know, the only one. But I think it would be beneficial to have some handicapped residents. The person that's buying it plans to make 4 apartments. It's like 1,000 square feet in each one, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda format?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes, approval of the minutes. Any corrections, Questions with the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes for both September 4th and September 17th.
Second, do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay.
As in Phillips.
Right, got it. Reports.
Mr. Chairman, I've got nothing to add to the reports. I haven't entertained any questions. If there are any, just by way of point of information, is town manager in the final discussions with the candidate to come take an offer as a town planner. So we've agreed on salary and benefits. He has a family situation, so his spouse needs to have a discussion with our benefits person about insurance. And ideally, before the day ends tomorrow, I'll be able to send out that email. And I don't have a start date yet, but it's been made clear that November is much better than December.
Excellent, excellent.
And coming from where? I'm sorry.
Without getting into too much, out of state, Georgia. Things not moving all part of the last minute, but he's got a master's degree, about 3 years worth of useful experience. So,
Great.
will be a good addition to the team.
Yep. Thank you. Any discussion on the reports by the planning commissioners? All right. Moving right along. Unfinished business. Bay Avenue beachfront parking.
Chairman, it's that time of year, so it's the wrap up of the beach parking. This has been going on now for 3 years. And just by way of a small amendment, by way of context, in my two-hat capacity, I wasn't able to get out and do a daily parking count every day, so that number is down to 41 observations over the summer, compared to last year, which I believe was about 58. What this was fewer weekday observations, so that takes that into consideration as far as context. Fewer observations this year than the last 2 years. By way of item specifics, as was cited in last year's report, probably the report before the year before that, what we've got from the sections from the comprehensive plan about both Bay Avenue and about parking in general. The standard that's used is the 1999 police parking study, which lays out a particular number of spaces that are the carrying capacity of the west side of Bay Avenue, which is 65. And what staff's action is to go out and count to see how many times that standard is either met or exceeded.
Are you counting only on the bay side, not across the street?
Correct. Correct. The east side is pretty much what passes or doesn't pass the eye test. So when the west side fills up, the east side and the 0-100 block of the perpendicular streets start to fill up. But typically I don't put that into the calculation either. It's really about the west side of Bay Avenue, because the west side of Bay Avenue is also proposed to have back and anchor parking. So it's less so about the count of the general area, again, outside of just the eye test. But it's more about at what point the carrying capacity of the west side of Bay Avenue is supposed to be exceeded. Now, this year it was exceeded very frequently, just as far as the vehicle counts are concerned. What we see, though, is an increasing number of golf carts. When the police did this study back in, did this count in '99, golf carts were less of become a vehicle option. So as a result, it's typical road sedans that they're looking at as far as parking. Since it's unmarked, all they can do is conjecture how many vehicles are there. So, the expectation of linear curb space with typical road sedans would translate into 65 vehicles. Obviously, with golf carts parking, either angled or perpendicular, we get a lot more. That's why, if I'm not mistaken, the highest single count this year was 94. Without having that number in front of me, probably 20% of those were golf carts, because the golf carts percentage of golf carts was just under 20% this year. 19.7% of all the vehicles parked during 41 observations were golf carts. That number is a little bit down from last year, which was 22.36% during 53 observations. So it's 53 observations. We are getting more vehicles at the beach. The number from the 1999 police study of parking is regularly exceeded. We've had fewer food trucks this year, which allow for more curb space for passenger vehicles. It still didn't seem to be onerous as far as the number, just the straight count was concerned, because we had a number of small vehicles that had a relatively small footprint of curb space. And last year, the state recommendation was to not move forward for a number of reasons. The recommendation for hanging park on the for a number of reasons. Those haven't changed. And while not to conflate the issues of annual parking on the beachfront with those downtown, since last summer's count, in the fall of 2017, there was a Main Street community-wide survey, and found with 77 responses, and found that the number one concern noted in the survey was downtown parking, and in particular, general interest in ending the reverse annual parking pattern downtown. So the Mason Avenue lived experience should be recognized. At this point, staff can't recommend moving forward with annual parking on Bay Avenue. But I'm happy to entertain any questions. This is, again, by way of information only. There's no expectation of the board that the commission acts on it.
Is there a designated amount of food trucks that we allow?
No. And typically the number of inquiries doesn't translate into the number of business licenses that are actually issued.
Okay.
So we have more inquiries during the spring and winter of people who want to do it, and then relatively few actually do it. I think we have maybe 3 consistent trucks this year. We were down one truck that was consistent from last year, who either got out of the food truck business or decided not to come back to Cape Charles. But these are relatively consistent.
So it is staff's recommendation that we just leave Bay Avenue alone for the time being.
Well, not to pursue annual parking.
Correct.
If there's a way to pursue another parking pattern which takes into consideration the number of golf carts and the location for the golf carts, that might be a fairly reasonable approach to look into. Now, again, this is a matter of the town would submit either a land use permit for the traffic shack or parking pattern on it, and that would go through their review, and upon their review, issue a permit or not issue a permit.
Are they willing to consider golf cart spaces?
That's a good question. I don't know that. There are so few golf cart communities in the first place. And we're not talking about private streets, we're talking about public streets. So the idea of a parking stall for a vehicle that's not 18 feet long and 9 feet wide
So we have not approached VDOT
Correct.
and asked them to even consider, or what is the possibility of having head-end parking, for example. No, we've gone around, we've done this in the past, and we mentioned that the reverse angle parking on Bay Avenue has its disadvantages as well because of the dunes.
Correct. The dune, the type of vehicle, the expectation that maybe unlike Mason Avenue, on Bay Avenue, you have more people unloading SUV types or pickup trucks, so they need to have access to the beds. And now you've got people at an angle or a vehicle that's long out to the oncoming traffic with sort of sloped verge as opposed to, the sidewalk of Mason Avenue. So there are, it just depends, as I think I have photos of last year's of vehicles that had rear end racks, and the rear end rack backed up to that sloped verge, would only push that vehicle further out of the traffic lane. It's a different type of vehicle that would be imagined, because people try to get the kayak out of a vehicle that's parked at an angle back in.
I guess the question I would have is, we're saying right now we fit equal or more vehicles there. Are we driving any of the traffic up the side streets such that that's becoming a nuisance to our homeowners on those streets?
It's inevitable that the traffic is going to go into the park, because that's what, as the day goes on, that's where space is available. The best space along the beachfront is taken in the first thing during the day. So the deeper you go into the day, the prime parking areas become.
Because I'm not sure we'll ever get to a point of, exceeding, because we're going to always have that opportunity to drive up the streets and park as close you can to Bay.
Right. Well, I mean, we've been doing this study for Bay Avenue now for at least 3 years, because we were doing it as part of our last plan review. And kudos to your office and going out there the last several years and doing accounting. But staff recommends that we leave it alone.
And I guess we haven't had any complaints then for people on side streets with regards to beach traffic.
This year's been actually void of complaints, including about noise from the food trucks. So we haven't gotten a noise complaint about any of the food truck generators this year. Gordo's was never a problem as far as that. They've been here for 3 years, they've never had a problem as far as the noise is concerned. So we didn't get food truck noise complaints, and we haven't gotten side street room complaints or space complaints this year. No, doesn't mean it's not going to happen next year. But I'll always say this about parking. Our parking congestion is 11 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And 2 in the afternoon on a Thursday, even the nicest day between Memorial Day and Labor Day, there's typically places to park. So once there's a parking pattern striped, there's a parking pattern, period. There's not a weekend parking pattern or a day parking pattern or a night parking pattern or daytime parking pattern.
It's a beach town.
That's right.
Yes, but aren't we trying to get ahead of the curve here? Because we've got Main Street now, and Main Street is trying to bring more people in.
Well,
We're certainly in the media.
Main Street, and for those that are not aware, I am on the board for Main Street, and Main Street has parking for Main Street is on one of the committees. It's not of interest. But that's for Main Street.
Right.
Bay Avenue is not part of Main Street. The designated area for Main Street is from Bay Avenue, Mason, includes the harbor, and it goes to the brewery.
Right.
But that's where they concentrate on. So Bay Avenue is not part of their It's not part of their charter.
But that doesn't mean that they're not bringing people into the town, even if all they talk about is that section.
That's correct. That's correct.
And we are getting a lot of press now, more and more people hear about us, so we are becoming more and more popular. Why are we not looking at this and saying we need to fix it before it happens? Even if it's just a matter of putting some parking lines down on the street. Isn't this the next thing in the community trail after Peach Street? So,
Unless it's reordered.
so wouldn't that be, have to have parking as part of it?
Correct.
So how soon will we be looking at that?
Probably that design would go forward until next spring, just design.
Then why aren't we trying to talk to VDOT now?
Well, for a couple of reasons, not least of which is we have a lived experience now on Mason Avenue about how the community reacts to back in that park. When it was initially proposed for Mason Avenue, we had no lived experience. Now we have a lived experience. And, you know, with all due respect to how parking has always been approached, it's always been approached as a space issue, but it's never been approached as a space and time issue. And do we actually need more parking spaces, or do we need parking spaces to turn over? And I think that's a fair study question before. It should have been a fair study question for Mason Avenue as well. Do you need turnover or parallel spaces, or do you need more spaces? You don't hear too many merchants complaining about downtown parking because they got more spaces. I think they all hate the back and angle parking, but at least they got more spaces downtown. With time, parking had the same effect as far as turnover is concerned. I'm talking about meters, and I'm talking about the 2 or 3 hour time parking. Now, we didn't go that route. We went the route of parallel spaces gone, angle spaces in.
We would never go to time parking at the beach.
I'm saying we've always looked at only as space, in which case then the only answers we come back with are spatial answers and not times and not.
So
Even type of vehicle, we're not even looking at type of vehicle solution. We're looking at, it's going to be a, you know, we're looking at the proposed a parking stall, whether it's, you know, 9 feet wide, parallel, 18 feet deep, or 45-degree angle, 16.9 feet long.
So we're gonna get into it, as you said, when we get to our Bay Avenue community trail. Is that part of the design there includes striping for parking?
For parallel parking. That plan shows parallel parking.
Does it show a drop-off point where you could come, drop off your stuff and go park somewhere else?
No.
I realize I'm new to this, however, has anybody looked at towns similar? Because my experience with any beach town is that you would rather do anything than have to park there on a weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not just a Cape Charles issue, right? So, would that help us? Would that provide any guidance with what people have done, both good and bad, right? Because I'm sure there's other towns out there that are like ours that have probably as strong a feeling about reverse angle parking on their main beach road.
Yeah, I like the Delaware towns.
Pardon?
I like the towns in Delaware, and I lived in Delaware 2.5 years, so I like the Delaware town. And you don't find one of those Delaware towns, beach towns, that doesn't have parking meters. Now, that's how they handle some of their congestion.
They don't have parking lot?
They all have parking meters.
Parallel parking or
Parallel parking or parking lots. And I think like Bethany Beach has got some very nice parking lots that are just off the beach, but they're municipal lots, and people go and park there and you pay for it. We kind of don't have that footprint proximate to our beach stop, because we go right from the beachfront into private homes. There's really no footprint for a parking lot that would make a reasonable walking distance that someone would be willing to use a lot, and then.
Is that true? There's no land at all? Nothing?
Well, if you want to buy, unless the town wants to buy, expensive beachfront lot.
Yeah, right.
There's still a couple of those left. vacant lots, but
What's the ROI on that?
I do
It'll
feel,
be a minute, but it should be something that's thrown in the top of the funnel.
Yeah,
Right.
oh, yeah, absolutely,
You
yes.
know,
but
it may
still.
not drip out, but
Yep,
yeah, we're just, and again, we have no trolley, we have no, you know, park and ride to get to the beach. We don't have any of that kind of facility. Where people could park far away and get on a beach trolley and,
well, trolley was something that was bouncing between my ears or something like that, not necessarily trolley, but I mean, I don't know. Is that an option?
it could be, and, you know, we do have the gravel line now, the Strawberry Plaza lot, which could be considered as a sort of, you
I
know,
mean, I don't think
remote
it's the best
trolley.
answer, but you'd be riding around for 45 minutes of your day, beach day,
well,
Yeah.
the other thing
and then
is,
parking illegally.
to keep within the character of the town, does the conveyance from parking to beachfront have to be mechanized, or can it be animal driven?
And this summer, I know the lady had the horse carriage out.
Right, right.
I had a friend take pictures of herself on it.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if it's just something more than just an amusement ride, or if it's actually conveyance of people. Because I really don't know what that carriage does, to be honest with you, other than just sort of ride around town. I don't say that in a bad way. I'm just saying-
No, I understand, I understand.
And if it's something that we can absorb, it would be another marketable point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if the golf cart rental places had the ability for people to just drop off there, pick up, take it, you know, be ridden out by somebody on a golf cart, dropped off, and then come back later and pick up.
I know, God forbid I should ask this question, but what about that center strip that's on?
That's a very good point. 3 years ago, we had somebody sketch out, up at our town hall actually, one of our former employees did a little sketch out of golf cart parking, parallel golf cart parking along the median, which would still give, but you can't have the angle though. If you have the angle parking, you're 16 feet, 9 inches out.
Even for a golf cart?
Yeah, I mean, because there's gonna be a 45-degree or 60-degree angle for parking stall, then you're gonna have the travel lane, then you're gonna have parking, and then you're gonna have the median. So you're not gonna have a wide enough travel lane. And so as a result, if you pick up median parking, curbside to the median, you have to have a wide enough travel lane, and you couldn't have a wide enough travel lane with angled parking as well.
Parallel is allowed.
That's right. So you would have 2 rows of parallel parking, where you would have, for lack of a better word, passenger sedan size stalls curbside, and golf cart size stalls median side.
Yeah, so it would be identified for golf cart only. And if we have 20% of what is 100 vehicles, right? And that was on a daily basis? Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think the average, it was exceeded almost 90% of the time.
Right. So 20 of those vehicles parked on the existing identified parking were golf carts, right? That would probably open up another 20 vehicles on car parking on either side of the road. Is that true or false?
A fair amount, yeah, I can't say for sure 20, because you have to take into consideration across.
So
the
we get 15.
Yeah,
Right.
probably.
That's 15 less that are parking in front of somebody's home that lives down in the town.
could we not put the golf cart parking on the other side of the median?
Again, somebody sketched out showing both
Both.
golf cart parking on both, lining the median on both sides.
Oh, I see.
With parallel parking on curbside.
And who killed it? Who killed it? Who did that idea not work? Did it
Well,
not work?
we never put it forward.
We never went forward.
Yeah, no one
Would it
forward.
then also, who maintains that area, the median area? Is it the town?
The town contractor does it.
We wouldn't have to maintain that then either, right? We would just have to put some type of median we can park on.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we run into the same thing with the Bay Avenue median that we would run into with Peach Street and Monroe, which is the median is actually part of the character of the town. So
That median?
the median really can't, I mean, whether it's Peach Street,
I don't think you can compare
So-
those, Larry.
Yeah, but we went through this with Peachtree Phase, the original Phase 3 of Peachtree.
Mhm.
Actually, was a question to the Historic District Review Board of, what can we do with that median? And the answer is the median is as much historic character of the town as the grid pattern is. Because if you go and look at the old maps, there's a median.
So, and I don't mean to be difficult, but the median, the way it exists now, our point is that that is enhancing the character of our town?
It's part of the historic character of that roadway. So much
For the
like.
good or the bad?
Doesn't matter.
Yes,
It's historic.
Well, I think it does matter with all due respect, right? Because if we're going to do something and can enhance character, right, then I think it does matter. I understand that it doesn't matter because that's the way it's been since forever. But,
And that's what the
you know,
historic
I think that's
review
kind of
board.
our call to duty, take very good care of what has been forever and try to make it fit where we're headed as a community. And I think where we're headed as a community is very different than where we have been forever.
Okay, and those discussions would have to be entertained by historic, only
Oh,
because
sure,
they're
sure.
trying to maintain the existing the way it looks.
I guess my point is, with tremendous humility, my point is that I'm not sure that anything we did wouldn't enhance the appearance and not only the homeowners, but of the people that visit the town. I don't think that's a stretch, but that could just be me.
I guess my question is, what's precluding us from just going to bite the bullet and put in angle parking, head in?
So we can request, the board can request, the commission can request that the town take a look at some options. We can ask them to tell us how many spaces, you know, if it's 65 or 66 or whatever on the west side, and how many golf cart spaces on the southbound side and the northbound side, and how many spaces of parallel on the northbound side as well. Then they could do an option with, but you said if we do any kind of diagonal parking, that would rule out having any golf cart parking, right?
You might start getting into a situation where you don't have enough to travel lane to satisfy what you got. My expectation, even with a golf cart, is that they will approve a parking stall that's not 8 or 9 feet wide, even if a golf cart is 5 feet wide.
I understand we want to be proactive here, and so, I mean, we can, as a board, we can ask, or direct the town staff to do that.
I think we've
Present it
been
and
doing
present it back.
this same thing.
Present it back to us. Don't forget, we've got a comprehensive plan coming up next spring.
Mhm.
So, and then in line with the trail, I mean, it's going to be done anyway, so I mean, so it's up to us to decide if we want him to come back in next month or November, December, with something so we can chew on it for a while.
Yeah, because what I want to avoid is having the trail casting concrete there as far as what the parking looks like if we have an opportunity to look at altering that now.
For those of you that aren't aware, the back end angle parking, you know, we, the planning commission, asked VDOT, well, the town asked VDOT, and we wanted to do diagonal parking on Mason Avenue, and we were told, no.
And that would be verbally.
I don't know if it was verbal or what, but this was two town planners ago, and we were told no.
Okay, and all I'm saying is I had visited VDOT and asked that very question.
Yeah, I know, but that was several years ago, and VDOT has changed.
Okay, that could be.
It could be, VDOT has changed, so, anyway, so we could ask VDOT, I mean, if we can request, we could formally request VDOT to ask them if they would allow diagonal parking on Bay Avenue,
So
correct?
what I've been told by VDOT when I asked that question was, under certain circumstances, they would approve pulling annual parking based on the crash record of that particular street, the number of vehicle trips, the speed limit, and probably all sorts of other things that they take into consideration for their engineering division. Their preference in the downtown, in the central business district, is an annual parking, you back in. And obviously Bay Avenue is not a central business district.
Right.
But preference and requirement are two different
They are.
things.
And be careful, I'm going to go on record here that my discussion with VDOT was not a requirement. It was, the town eventually submitted plans that they eventually adopted. Okay, but it wasn't a requirement from VDOT unless there was some verbal arm twisting behind the scenes to make that happen.
And why are we talking to VDOT instead of writing to them and then responding?
And that's the way they've talked to me too, is you put in writing what you want from us, we'll give it to the engineers, and they'll come back and approve or disapprove.
Is there been a timeline that has been spoken to you for something like that? Does that take 60 days, 90 days, 2 years?
Sometimes you have a better feel for a turnaround on VDOT, sometimes it's a long time.
Yeah, sometimes it was a long time. Because this is when I first started here, we did the survey on down Mason Avenue to go from parallel parking to angle parking. And the early, my first day was February 1st, 2015. And Mike Starling and I were out there, I think it was February 10th or 11th of 2015. To start looking at, well, here's a handicap, accessible ramp, so we have to start blocking out places for the parallel parking. We didn't get our permit application in until maybe the middle of April, and it wasn't approved until the middle of May. And the striping happened maybe probably a week before Memorial Day, because it was kind of a high wire act, because that was also when Mason Avenue was being paved again. So it was the paving project, which we were all concerned about getting done before Memorial Day, and then maybe the Tuesday, Wednesday before going into Memorial Day weekend is when the striping was done. So it was 3 full months from the time we had surveyor out there to the time we got the striping approved.
Is it possible to have a work session of sorts between maybe the Historic Review Board, the Planning Commission, the Town Council, with someone from VDOT who could advise us of some of this stuff, and we can fire questions at them?
We could always ask, VDOT doesn't work for us, and they typically don't come to evening meetings. And they typically don't come to evening meetings. It may have to be accommodate one of the VDOT staff schedules to be able to do that, and have such a similar work session. But there's nothing wrong with it. What they're going to tell you, I think, is going to be very technically oriented. They're not going to tell you what's best for your town. They're going to tell you what their technical people can approve.
And you have to get the right person too, because the contact people we have in the ACMAC office there really just relay to others to make the decision. They're the project managers, but the real people are elsewhere, whether it's in Hampton or I'm not sure where.
Does Main Street, the new accolades that have been bestowed by Cape Charles, does that give us any opportunity to move things to a different person, a different level, those types of things, under the auspices of trying to get better quicker, those kind of things?
You mean within the Main Street organization?
Yeah, can we leverage any of that newfound?
With VDOT, with VDOT, you're saying?
With somebody, maybe it puts it in a different person's desk, because, you know, I've always been taught that, you know, if you kind of sit there and you're spinning your wheels, right, you know, doing that over and over and over again has been defined as insanity, right? So if there's a wall, I mean, we either need to go over it, through it, or under it, or around it, and I'm just asking, is there another direction that we haven't uncovered yet that may get us answers that would allow us to move with a little bit more speed from where we are to where we need to go? And the reason why I made the comment, just so everybody's aware, the reason why I made the comment on Bay, right, is as we start to grow and become more of a destination town, and Main Street starts to do what Main Street is going to do, and Main Street starts to change and take on a much different appearance, right? Become more pristine, if you will, more small town USA kind of thing, right? Rockwell-like. And you make that right-hand turn, you got the beautiful new hotel, and you make that right-hand turn, okay? And again, I'm not being a wise guy here, but I mean, our Bay Avenue could use a little bit of attention, right? And I think proactively, if that means parking becomes part of it, I'm not sure who said it, but I think that proactively we ought to work towards that, because I think it's integral to the positive growth of Main Street.
Okay, we have,
I'm not sure that, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure that that median does anything good for us right now as far as appearance. I'm not so sure somebody's driving down and looking, they're saying, wow, look at the change, this looks good, right? Look at that hotel, my, they put a ton of money in that. And they make that, they keep turning right, oh, all right, that's the end of that, right? Because that's kind of the appearance. And then you keep going down there and, you know, and you have what you have. It's just my, and again, it's just my opinion, but I think it really dovetails very nicely and fits very, very well. If we're going to spend money, spend time, and work towards something, I think that meshes well in between my ears. I'm way off, but it meshes well between my ears.
so we have the program manager here for Main Street that can address the parking from a Main Street perspective. If you'd like to have her say a few words, that's fine. Shelley Gordon, would you like to say a few words about this?
Sure. So we were actually going to get on your November calendar, so I was taking a little bit out of school. But I was kind of chomping at the bit back there saying I run the Main Street program. So it definitely is an initiative we're taking on. It's something that concerns us a lot. Again, I don't know all the history of parking, so I apologize on the comprehensive plan and all the nuances and all the boards. One of the things that I was going to suggest, because we are looking at the reverse angle parking on Mason, and going to come to the board to say, can we look at that? Given the discussion today, I'm wondering if it behooves us to say, all right, can we look at the entire parking situation? What are Larry's recommendations? What are the town's recommendations? Let's do a study and do it in a strategic way, because my concern candidly is if you go to VDOT tomorrow and ask about Bay Avenue, then I'm going to be asking Larry in a month to do the same kind of on the reverse angle parking for Mason. We've worked with the town council already to get some of the lights installed in that back gravel lot, as we're calling it. But I think there's some really quick tactical things that we can do in parking. And if it pleases you, maybe we should do a quick work session or a study for the holistic piece. Now again, sorry if that's been done since 1999, I'm not aware. But as far as our poll, sometimes we can do a poll and sometimes we can't, but we're certainly motivated to get some stuff done. And we've heard the VDOT and this commission candidly. I think that's water under the bridge. I just want to make sure we get things done.
But Shelley, is there somebody at Main Street Central, not Main
Yeah,
Street Cape Charles, but
sure.
somebody.
I mean, look, it's something that if we know we need to go get someone at VDOT, we can make some calls to go do that. Candidly, I think it's premature because I hate to be in a position as Main Street Program Manager, and I kind of won't be if I'm saying, hey, can you do this today? And then a month later coming back to them to say, hey, can you do this? So I don't think we should belabor it because it's a huge issue and it showed up in our surveys and it showed up in all the things. But I also think Larry has some incredible great ideas and I feel like let's tackle them all. Let's tackle the Main Street area. Let's tackle Bay Ave. Let's tackle what we need to in a way that's a month from now to come back to this commission and say, hey, here's what we found. Here's some recommendations. And Main Street can partner. And again, I'm talking out of school because I'm representing the design committee when I was supposed to do this in a month. Questions?
I have 100, but I'll pause them.
Feel free. I'm happy to answer.
I just
this.
think, I think it needs to be,
I think it's a huge issue and it needs to be tackled right now. But I think it should be done in a strategic way, even if it's just us tackling Bay and Mason all together. And that's something we're really concerned about.
so did I hear earlier that no one really likes the reverse angle parking on
People hate it.
Mason, but the retailers are like, well, okay, it allows more cars to be parked.
I'll be
Is that
honest
true?
with you. I haven't heard that from retailers necessarily. I will tell you the parking issue from our survey, that Larry was talking about, it was the #1 at the survey, at the, I forget what it was called, the meeting we had after that. It was a huge issue, but it wasn't just the reverse angle. It was parking on the whole, which is why we urgently took on the gravel lot, as we call it, for the short term to get that lit, because it was a mess. Now, there's all sorts of other issues that are attached to that, but that was a short term solution.
But the gravel lot is catching on.
The gravel lot's catching on, the CCBA
Yes.
did park back there because of the holiday traffic, so there's iterative things. I don't know if you ask the business owners, are they okay? I hate to speak for them, but I think they try to honor parking back in the gravel lot, and they did a nice job during whatever that holiday was, Memorial Day or whatever we asked them to do. But I think there's more to it than just the reverse angle.
But I do think the reverse angle was huge.
Oh, it's
And
huge,
to my
no
mind,
doubt.
it's a small thing we could change to make
Correct.
not only our citizens, who sometimes feel left
Yeah.
out, happy, but it makes it.
Absolutely, and it's
So-
something, that's why we're tackling, and that's what I was getting on your calendar in November, to get at least that done. But again, if we're gonna ask Larry to go to VDOT about Bay Avenue this week, in 2 weeks from now, go reverse angle, anyway.
I fully agree with that.
So, yeah, I'm happy to sit down and map that out, I'm happy to do a work session, I'd love that. In fact, we'd love to partner and get that done, because it's a huge issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bruce. I mentioned the possibility of looking at Bay Avenue as far as the parallel parking. I mean, that's something that we look at, proactive, so, is anybody in agreement? We asked town planner to look at that. Bring that to us
As an option?
as an option.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't follow. Why are we asking to look at parallel parking? Why aren't we asking to look at parking options on Bay Avenue?
We could do that.
It is not,
We could do that. We could do that.
We've already got a survey done of angle parking, of back angle parking up there.
Right?
But I thought that didn't work because of the way it kind of dips down and, on the beach side.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we've got the survey, so, Mike Starling, we'll wait on trains for us. And I think it translated into 112 parking spaces.
Here's another question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so, we already have what the default is, because comp plan tells us the default is back and angle. So we, from the pavilion up to the bend on,
Mason.
yeah, Washington and Bay. Because we don't have angled parking down by the handicap ramp, south of the pavilion. Only for the pavilion north, we have the back angled parking. And if I'm not mistaken, that was 110 or 112 stalls.
Why is back-in different than pull-in as far as what the space looks like?
It's not.
It's the book.
Yeah, so that's the thing about, people don't like back in angle parking downtown. If you go to pull in angle parking downtown, you don't pick up any more spaces, because all you're doing is shifting the stripes.
Okay, so,
It's the same number of curb space, it's the same number of pull-in stalls.
I don't think people are complaining about the number of spaces so much as the fact that they have to back in all the time.
Right.
So then if you don't like to back in, like I can only back in the golf cart, not the car, then I start looking for other spaces where I can park, where I don't have to back in, and that gets on my nerves. So it's not more spaces, it's how easily can we access the spaces we have. And I think that's a general feeling.
Yeah, right now the default is back in angle on Bay Ave, because that's what the comp plan calls for.
So if everybody's telling us, and I'm sorry, I have to ask, if everybody's telling us they hate it, why would we do it on Bay?
Exactly.
To gain more spaces?
But rational, yeah, well, first of all, you get more spaces.
Right.
It
Which is great.
rationalizes the use of space,
Right.
instead of, that's one of the problems when you don't have a designated parking space. I park 9 feet behind the last guy, but there's not enough room for anybody else to pull in.
That's right, because you don't want to get stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least in the parking stall, I park in the parking stall. Now, in that same parking stall width, or golf carts might park perpendicular. So it's a matter of, again, what kind of vehicles you're expecting to go. Put the angle parking on the west side of Bay Avenue, you'll lose the room for the food trucks. So that means for sure the food trucks now are going across the street in front of residential, on the residential side of the street.
They need to have an air parking space.
That's probably true.
You can always do permit parking or something like that.
That's true as well.
But when you
Put
say
up on
angle,
Washington Avenue.
you don't have to say reverse angle, you can just say angle parking.
See,
Because
VDOT
there's
has
no
to-
difference.
VDOT has to approve it.
No, I mean, but what I mean is, as far as number of spaces go, it's not that reverse angle gives us more spaces, it's that angle parking gives us more spaces. So if the pull-in works, and most people want that, then I don't know why we're not doing it.
Well, I think that because in the business district, right, and we've kind of kicked this horse a fair number of times, right? Pulling out is probably safer than backing out, unless you're pulling out and in a BMW, and next to you is an F-350 that you couldn't see over the lap, right? So there are arguments on both sides. My sense is from listening to what you said, Larry, that the business district and Bay might be under two different suggestions.
No.
Yeah, I know where you're going, and that would be a problem for people in general, saying pulling here is acceptable, but backing over there is required. To me, it's gotta be consistent.
I can remember being at a council meeting.
That's just people.
Yeah, I can remember being at a council meeting easily 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, when that was precisely, you can't have one town into a different kind of parking patterns, parallel, pull in and back out.
You just gotta be on your parking game.
Well, I mean, arguably you can if you approves it. Whether you want to be is another story, because it is a variety of messages being sent to a variety of audiences.
I'd be interested to see, if from just a congestion perspective and increasing parking for vehicles, what it would do to take the golf carts, off either side of Bay. That might be an interesting. And you say we have that?
Yes, well, somebody sketched that out on the copy of the survey that we had. I mean, we we had the survey on Bay Avenue, which showed all the stalls, you know, at a 60-degree bank-in angle. But it was, showed both sides of the street. So someone started sketching out
Right.
median-sized parking for golf carts. Now, he sketched out a parking stall that was about 8 or 9 feet wide. So as a result, you know, that travel lane that he sketched out was probably, you know, wider than what that would have approved. Because if you got the curb or the verge in that case, 16 feet 9 inches out, a minimum of a 12-foot travel lane, and then a 9-foot or an 8-foot wide parallel stall, that's awfully congested. And I think that's the sort of thing that VDOT wouldn't go for, because then you really are, you know, putting all sorts of congestion issues, line of sight issues, depending on my vehicle, and I'm backing my vehicle out. You know, I got a travel lane and I got people parked right across from it.
Can we not use that as a starting point? I mean, I truly think this is a huge issue. I'm perfectly happy to put 4 apartments on Randolph, but whose life does that change? Nobody. Whereas if we change parking, that's a huge difference in the town. It's something people can see and can appreciate. I think that's where we need to go. We can still do this other stuff. It's pretty easy to do, but we really need to hit something that people care about, and it's parking.
And VDOT has to bless anything that
It's fine.
So why don't we make a proposal that we will get the different groups together and come up with a plan and present? That's what we're talking about.
and we can do that in unison with
Yep,
Main Street?
yep,
Yes.
I'll make sure it happens.
I think that would be the
Is
way
that,
to
can we
go.
do that, Larry?
All right, but do you want the options to be able to come up to the town to say, okay, here's your smorgasbord, now let's discuss the pros and cons of each?
Yeah, we need to start from somewhere. We don't want to go there and say, okay, who has an idea?
You can't bring everybody together and say, okay, this is what.
Right.
Well,
And then everybody's going to talk and we're going to be just like we are right now. We haven't-
I think what Shelley had talked about, and it is a Main Street goal. Let her try to orchestrate this, and she can pull all the players together and discuss it. She can talk to Larry.
I don't agree with that. I don't. This is really us that needs to do this. Now, I want Shelley to be big time involved, but this really needs to come from us and from the governing body of this town, not from Main Street.
I didn't say it's coming from
But
Main
you're
Street.
asking Shelley to take it on, I think.
I was asking her
Us.
to get the players together.
Why aren't we getting the players together?
We can try to get the players together. It might be a little bit difficult, but we can try.
Hey, if they don't come, they don't come, but we need to get going, and I think we need to do it.
I agree.
Thank you.
We have a public meeting in November, right?
6th.
Is the November timeframe, to put something together? I mean, we can have a representative, or we've done it with the Historic District Review Board before. We've had a joint meeting. We have a town council representative on the planning commission. We have a town council we don't have, is there a town council representative on the Historic District Review Board? No.
I mean, I think we have enough people that we could.
That's election day. Does that make any difference to our meeting?
Only where we have it.
Okay.
Can we see if we can get to talk this over with the Historic District Review Board?
They're meeting late this month, they're on the 23rd.
We have a representative here too from the
Yeah,
Historic
to
District.
what degree, if we don't play with the medium, or if we would propose different medium strip there, Otherwise, I don't think the historic would have to be involved.
Historic's gonna have to be involved if you're gonna fool with that meeting.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think they should be, but why are you saying just them and us as opposed to getting Main Street and getting town council, all of us?
Well, I don't know if, I don't know, we'd have to go to a work session and do it at a work session with town council. That's the only other time that we can do it.
That's fine.
And they have work sessions scheduled every Thursday if they need them, so it would have to be on a Thursday.
And could we get copies of what has already been planned for?
Is there any work session scheduled in November for town council?
Probably is gonna be, well, the normal date would be November 1st. Now, there's also a council strategic planning meeting on November 3rd, Saturday, so I don't know if they're gonna defer that November 1st work session. There may be things in a November 1st work session that need to go to council that have nothing to do with the strategic planning session. They're just, they're normal things about, this lease agreement needs to be renewed or something. Just typical mundane aspects of government.
But can we be prepared to do that fast?
Well, Larry would have to brush off the previous study that we had over there on Bay Avenue and present it to the commission for us to review. So we know what's going on here, and then meet with the other players.
So we would need a work session.
Yeah, all right, aren't you?
Yeah. I would think so.
Is that agreeable with everybody?
It sounds like we don't have to recreate the whole wheel.
No.
I'm not sure what people know, and I'm not saying that in favor. I'm just saying I don't know what people know about what was proposed. The long road to back in angle parking. And my last year's report, I got into a little bit of the long road to back in angle parking. But again, that was a drawing board approach more than a lived experience approach. The question of the integration of not just Main Street jurisdiction, but literally, as you point out, that right-hand turn. And that right-hand turn kind of takes you into a different world. The lived experience people is they make that right-hand turn.
Pardon?
The lived experience people is they make that right-hand turn.
The right-hand turn, different.
So to say that, Main Street's jurisdiction geographically ends, but it kind of really doesn't. Experientially, it doesn't. So what they're, what that committee is working on, I don't know it. So let alone bring it up to you folks. The first work session just might be a general, sort of data dump, and who's working on what issues, why, what they're looking at, because one group's criteria may not be another group's criteria. And it would be helpful in the search for solutions or recommendations to at least agree on, the table's round, right? Or the table's square. Because I don't know that we're to the point where the table is round or square yet. So is it more space? Is it convenience of parking? Is it taking into consideration types of vehicles? Is it, by definition, the beachfront isn't the same as the downtown because of what you experience when you get out of your car, all sorts of other criteria. I mean, again, what's that group or whether it's people's opinions or what the business association is working on, I don't know that we're all looking at the same
I agree.
reason.
Yeah.
The reason for doing this is fill in the blank, and I don't know that we've got the reason for doing this yet. I mean, one of the things is like, one of the reasons to get out of back in the parking business is when people come here from Ohio, they don't do this in their hometown. Everybody parallel parks. The world parallel
Or
parks.
pulls in.
Not even
small towns.
anymore either. But you're right, I mean, you can go a lot of small town main streets and all you see is pull and angle. And for a lot of people downtown, that's their lived experience.
Okay, so
So just
you
saying.
know what we want to do. So how do you suggest we go about doing it?
December. First of all, I recommended in
Okay.
December.
Alright.
Not November, and I don't know if that,
I think that's a good time also from our strategic.
But what are we doing in December before we decide that's a good idea?
A combined workshop, oh, I'm sorry, a combined work session might be something that at least in October 23rd, the Historic District Review Board could hear about it. This way, you know, that another joint work session with the Planning Commission in December. Because if it's, you know, talk to them on October 23rd for a meeting on November 6th, I think put them at a disadvantage. At least, and I don't know what the timetable with Main Street is. So, or the council for that matter. So at least we're not looking at, you know, what day, the 2nd of October, we'll be rolling out on November 6th.
Yeah, so you could dust off the previous stuff for our next meeting, and we could put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
Yeah, and
So at least we are familiar with that prior to going into a December work session.
Are we able to do, prior to our meeting, a little work session of us? I mean, I know the public can come, but can we sit and talk like a little work session on that, and rather than do this at the meeting?
if that's the commission prerogative.
What are you trying to accomplish for me?
Well, one, people don't have to sit here for hours who aren't here for that reason. And two, if nobody does show up other than us, we might feel a little freer to talk.
That's never stopped us from talking. We're all about transparency here, absolutely. All about transparency.
And one thing I'd like to do is sit at a table with us facing each other around the
And
table.
that makes sense, because then you get more of an interaction, as opposed to be just kind of sitting in the corner and not saying anything until the last minute.
We could also try to Dropbox, which at least we can put everything in the same Dropbox so that all the boards and commission can access it. Because otherwise, just conveying the information around has its own problems.
All right, outline what you think December is going to be, the meeting. Who's going to be there? What are we going to do?
No, wait, what are we saying?
Well, you said talk about a joint meeting in December as would be the best opportunity. So it would have to be a work session. Is that what you were talking about? And that would be with as part of town council and possibly, since the Historic District Review Board has any input from the media, they would participate as well. So that would probably be on a Thursday, right?
Well, it depends if the town council's joint work session.
Do you already have are there any work sessions already taken in December for the town council?
I don't know.
Is this not an important enough topic that we couldn't have a day different than Thursday? Where we would have a work session kind of cramped in there before they had their meeting?
See, town council sets aside all the Thursdays for work sessions other than their Thursday meeting. So it would make sense to have it on that Thursday, all right? And then they schedule it as needed. So I mean, if they want to have this, and there's plenty of time between now
So
and
you
then.
can request it?
Yeah, and it's made to request it as an agenda item because they may have other work sessions, so tackle that one first and then we move on to the balance of our business.
So let me make sure I understand. So we want to have a work session on a Thursday with us, the town council, the architectural review board, the historic review board, Main Street, to discuss changes in parking. Larry's going to send, well, I guess put in Dropbox, everything he has about various options that the town has worked out before or someone has come up with, and that's what we're going to talk about in the meeting.
But we will have a meeting prior to that.
Yes, absolutely.
That we could have an agenda to present to them.
Okay.
And that would be done in November.
Yeah.
Right, that could be November 6th, or that could be something else, some other date in November.
Okay. So do we have to make a motion on that, or are we just directing there?
No.
Okay, should we pick dates? At least for us?
For December?
Well, for November, at least for our meeting.
Oh, we have,
We have,
that's
it's
a
gonna be at
normal.
our normal
Our
meeting.
normal meeting,
Right.
okay.
And sure,
We haven't beat this thing to death already.
She said to put it in Dropbox as well. We could put it in Dropbox prior.
Right, exactly.
We've got at least 3 new commissioners since the last time, since the
Right.
last time the Mason Avenue application before. So,
I promise I'll keep my mouth.
No, I'm not even much.
So if we can actively work together to get something to present to the bigger group, I think we would be, that would be coming from us.
That's where we would add value. Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
because right now, right now it has to be better than what's proposed in the comp plan. Now, we don't have to our comp plan on other things, which is not to our credit, but comp plan says what it says, and that's that there's a complete street approach moves to Bay Avenue.
Right.
Require a complete street approach back into the park.
Yes, but as you say, we now have a lived-in
Yes, we do.
situation, reverse angle parking,
Yes, we
so.
do.
And a public backlash.
I will add my personal 2 cents. I don't have an issue with back-in parking anymore. I've trained myself to do it right. I have the technology that helps me.
Yeah, right. I don't have that car.
No, it's not for
Somebody
everybody.
that comes into the store complains about
I
the
have
park
no
out
problem being
front,
the
they back
minority
in,
here.
they come in.
There has been accidents,
Backing in
just on
Back-
Mason as a result
Yeah.
of an event.
and running into landscape and running into phone poles and running into trash cans and not backing up far enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it the commission's wish that are bringing people to from Main Street that are dealing with the parking to that meeting as well? We're gonna talk anyway, so
The one in December.
the one in November.
Oh, no, that's just us, isn't it?
No,
November one?
but if we had it, but remember, she said they were going to approach us in November.
Okay, so I'll just bring that like we're going to before.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on parking? Now, people start-
I'm gonna have to
I need a glass of wine.
All right, all right. Are we set on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
7 piece of candy discussion, yes.
Our next item of business, under unfinished business, is the application for conditional use permit residential over commercial in the commercial 1 district at 12 Peach Street. Review and make recommendation to town council. Okay, we've all voted on this, and personally, I don't understand. I thought we'd already voted on this to send it to town council.
And I public hearing, September 17th. That was the last action. So these folks came in July.
Right.
In August, they,
I thought when we came in July, we approved that.
no, this is not 12 Peach. Not 12 Peach.
They came in July. She came in here in July.
She came in August.
No,
The application.
Okay.
Application.
you're right, I'm sorry. I'm
July
a month one. Yeah, she came in here in August.
In which case, then you said that after the public hearing date, which was September 17th. So they had a public hearing, nobody came,
Right,
but the applicant was here.
Right.
They've been here
Right.
every night except
Right.
tonight.
right.
So this finalizes it, and the council, because the council didn't have a quorum, the council had
Right.
to
No, no.
reschedule their public hearing, which they'll do the night of the 18th, and then vote on it that night.
Okay. All right.
So from August, I'm sorry, from
But
July
just to follow
20th.
through what Bill's saying, wouldn't they have come to this commission, get approval, and then schedule a public meeting?
We,
We wouldn't have voted on it at that time?
No, like we went with the application for 7/29, 7/30, review the application for completeness.
Review only, okay,
And
now,
then set public hearing date.
okay, and wait for public feedback before deciding
Yeah.
the final act.
And the public hearing date is just us or us and the town council?
just council.
Council's expressed interest in having their own public hearing dates.
Good.
So that doesn't stop the planning commission from moving applications forward.
All right. Is there any discussion on this action?
I do have one question, Susan. What you have in here, it says, talks about comprehensive plan, and then it says the comprehensive plan also addresses the need for available affordable housing.
Yes.
What makes this affordable housing?
You don't know, but the expectation is that a single family detached costs more than an apartment. And perhaps that's a high level assumption, but that's typically the way.
These are one bedroom.
So what you were saying, you're not talking about affordable housing for a waitress.
Depends on how they price
That's right.
it. I mean, how
I know,
they
but
price it.
if we're saying we're trying to have affordable housing, we have no way to enforce affordable housing, so I don't even know why we're speaking to it.
Because we're required to
Why?
by Virginia law.
The comprehensive plan, we talk about
So it's supposed to be in the comprehensive plan.
housing.
You can look at it always, I'm adding more units to the mix. That drives competition, it drives prices down. Now, will 2 change it, will 4 change it? Right.
Yeah, I know, I remember who was here last time, whom we were saying, well, what would affordable be to you? Or maybe this was at Main Street, I don't know. And they were saying, this is a business owner, well, like $400 a month would be affordable. Well, yeah, but who's gonna rent one of these for $400 a month, so it's just not affordable. Okay, I don't like putting the word in if it's not really true. But okay.
It's adding more units to the mix, like Larry says. It's adding more units to the mix, so.
So can I make a motion to accept the conditional use permit for residential or commercial in the commercial 1 district at 12 Beach?
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Next item.
New application received for residential over commercial in the C1 district at 729, 730 Randolph Avenue. The staff report, again, is for the purpose of reviewing the application and setting the public hearing date, which is proposed to be in December.
I thought this was, that was going to be in November.
I don't know that we could make in November. Well, I suppose we can, if it's approved tonight, we can make the November public hearing notices. Notices would have to be advertised on the 19th and 26th of October. Around 2 weeks in the paper.
And would it be on Tuesday, November 6th?
It would be Tuesday, November 6th. If it's approved tonight, the date would be Tuesday, November 6th. Not approved tonight, couldn't make the November.
And what does approval entail?
That the application is complete and to the point where it can move forward for public hearing.
Then I don't think it is complete.
You think is missing?
I think everything in this application is confusing. And sometimes we say we want 2 residential units over a commercial use. We want 2 residential units upstairs and 1 downstairs. Another time there's 1 upstairs. So all that is confusing to me. And also I'm very confused about ownership. We have 1 person making the application, but it sounds like you haven't yet settled on the property. Is that what it is?
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
So if you haven't settled on it,
It's
and
conditional on
this approval.
Yes.
So if we approve what you say you want, does that automatically hold the other person responsible for what
Yes.
he has applied?
He's actually doing the construction.
Okay.
And we did that on Fig and Monroe, the corner house. That was a duplex, first and second
Right.
floor. That was approved pending sale
My biggest problem with applications is, I think this is across the board. If somebody were to take this application and didn't know anything that was going on, they would have no clue what was going on by looking at this. And that's my problem with most applications. Now, I don't think this one is clear at all. I think it needs to be redone. And I think it needs to speak to parking, how much parking should be there. Are they setting parking aside? I mean, how is this whole thing handled? Is there 4 residential units? Are there 3? Can it go back to commercial?
We'll always go back to commercial.
Well then,
Commercial.
I think it needs to say that. Because how do we know that?
Because the by right use is commercial.
This is in the commercial district, so by right, it's commercial.
And in the C1, again, it's
And
exempt.
it has to have a conditional use permit to be residential and commercial.
In the C1, there's the off-street parking exemption anyway. These folks also happen to have a parking lot.
Right.
So-
And if we do approve it for residential, and it goes back to commercial, can it still go to residential if they want it to without coming before a board?
No, it's not to conform to
Okay, so it's gone back to commercial and they would have to come forward again.
come back.
Can I ask you to have them clear this up then? Because really, if you read it, it's very confusing what it is they want to do.
Where specifically?
Okay, so if we start with Larry's staff report, he says in the very top line, they want to do a conditional use permit for 2 residential dwelling units above the first floor commercial use. Then it says later in it, the application also proposes a first floor residential unit. But then if you go somewhere later here, and I think it's the new owner maybe? Yes, the new owner in his letter says, we seek a conditional use permit for the current commercial zoning to maintain the 2 lower units as rental apartments and create 2 rental apartments upstairs.
There's already a rental unit downstairs.
There's 1, but he wants 2. But that's not what the application
But
says.
there's already 1 residential unit downstairs. Correct.
Okay, I get it. But there's also the question about, what he wants in aggregate is 4 apartments, right?
Correct.
He's got 1 approved, is that true? So he wants to end up with 4. That is not clear at all in this application.
He's only asking for 3, he already has one.
Says the
But it doesn't say that in the other thing here. It says, in Larry's, it says, 2 residential dwelling units above the first floor commercial use at 729, 730 Randolph Avenue. So what does that lead you to think? That the first floor is all commercial? All I'm saying is just clear it up so we know exactly what they're asking for.
Well, right now, I know what this building is. There's a residential unit downstairs that was grandfathered. And then there was, next to it was a commercial space that was vacated about 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And so it's commercial space. And so he wants to make that into a residential unit, and he wants to do 2 residential units upstairs.
But the downstairs had a business in there that
Yes.
was on the books as a business?
Yeah, it's Paul Stoller.
That's the rumor.
It was the group.
And the by right use downstairs is commercial.
Right.
Yes.
Our request was, for the zoning requires 2 commercial units downstairs and 2 residential units upstairs, like the rest of the town. And on the conditions that it was approved as permit to change it to the 2 bottom units. I don't know how the grandfather affects the one's already there, but we were asking for the 2 bottom units to be residential instead of commercial considering that's the way the zones were.
I understand that, but that's not what this application says. It says different things in many places, so all I wanted to say is that this is what we're applying for. Right now, it was used as commercial, we want that to be residential, we have one residential downstairs, and we want 2 upstairs for a total of 4.
Yes, ma'am. And for parking, for instance, for parking, there's a parking lot in front of the building, so the parking is
Probably
not an issue.
10 spaces.
At least 10.
So, but if we can get it, if we can change it to be that clear, I don't see why we can't do it the next time.
We can propose and agree to it here as a commission, the wording that we want to finalize.
Yes, we can.
All right.
So before we do that, this is going against the commercial, the mixed use, is going against the mixed use, and the commercial is, correct?
Correct. Correct. So, but again, with the idea that downstairs units by right can be commercial at any time.
Right. Okay.
Except for the one that's being asked for specifically,
It's already,
Commercial.
that's currently commercial. But that could revert to commercial at any time. By right. That doesn't require a trip back here. That requires no other approval.
okay.
That can either be granted or denied. The property right downstairs is always going to be commercial.
Okay.
So
Right.
that can convert tomorrow back if they can't find a residential renter, or they can find a commercial renter, it becomes a commercial unit again. It becomes a commercial use again. Now, they're saying they want 4 residential, with the idea that becomes a burden to put 4 residential in there. But what they can do is commercial by right. In the C1, there's only one conditional use, period. Commercial, residential over commercial, and period. The C1 also, when you look at the ordinance, the C1 assumes that the building isn't this building. The building is more like 12 Peach Street, where it's an obviously commercial structure with a commercial look to it. You know, close to Mason Avenue. That's not this building. This building looks residential. It has no storefronts. You're not losing any commercial space right now. So it has no storefront. It doesn't face a commercial street. It faces a residential parking lot. So it doesn't look like 12 Peach Street or the Parsons Building. It looks like what it looks like. As a result, some of those things that are built into the C1 language really don't pertain to this, which is the concern that you have to go through a commercial unit to get into upstairs residential. That's not the case with this building. This wasn't laid out as a storefront. So as a result, you know, maybe it never should have been zoned C1 in the first place, but since it was zoned C1, the only thing you can do is, because you look, it's got 3 residential front doors. Right? That doesn't look like a storefront. That doesn't look like what the C1 ordinance drawings look like.
At some point.
So as a result, you know, we're trying to make our language fit what the experience of this building is, because otherwise we're supposed to come back and ask for a rezoning to R3.
No, right.
But that's the problem.
Right.
The answer would be no, but I can't tell you that this is a commercial structure.
But at some
It's not
point
gonna
in
look
its
like it.
approval, like with us or with the historical review or anybody who's going to approve this, is there somebody who would say, gosh, it'd be really nice if you put a tree here or marked the parking lot or anything like that?
Marking parking lot's not unreasonable.
Because nowhere does it
Marking
say.
parking lot's not unreasonable.
What about putting in a tree? What about putting in some kind of landscape? I'm not necessarily asking about them, but I'm asking in general.
I mean, those are all conditions.
Mhm.
I mean, that has to be a justification why, you know.
That was like the man that wanted us to put the trees to hide the cement plant. I mean, he came here and asked us that, why couldn't we do that? Well, what do you mean, why can't we do that?
I mean, within reason,
Except, you could have asked Tabby Property to do that. When they come to you for approval, you could have said to them, we want that side of the property to be very heavily treed to break that view.
it becomes a taking.
Because what?
It becomes a taking. I mean, there's gotta be a reason to say, you know, you lose parking spaces because we want it to be landscaped. Now,
Well,
this is-
I'm not
it's
asking
al-
that.
I'm just saying, it's already, but as an example, it's already impervious space.
Mhm.
So not adding more impervious space. So, to say, well, we need to have more grass, that's okay, but that condition has to have a rational relationship to lot. And if it's just, I don't like looking at it, then, you know, they see us in court, and we have to justify why we're taking away their property right to use, because somebody doesn't like a view shed, or doesn't like a view of the front of whatever it is in the front. That becomes the problem here. This parking lot already exists, the parking lot isn't the issue, but for the conditional use to say X number of parking spaces for X number of apartments, you better start striking out the parking lot, this way we know how many parking spaces are for your apartments. That would be an unreasonable condition, because it's directly tied to the need to see X number of spaces for X number of units.
Who owns the parking lot?
I imagine the property owner will probably.
It just extends straight out to the end of the parking lot there?
It's a part of the property, facing on the right-hand side, the building runs north to south, and then in front of that is, over to the property line is asphalt parking lot.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Okay, so you've got that property rights, all right. Okay.
And if it's not striped, you put a curb stop. Again, so we need a parking space. Because the condition is now it's gonna be used for commercial, or it's gonna be used for residential, all right? And it's not first floor anymore. The first floor in C1 is exempt from the parking requirement. Second floor is not.
But if you use the first floor as residential, then you have to provide parking spaces.
That's not an unreasonable request.
I don't think it is either. So where do you put that in this? I mean, you don't just generally expect it.
Well, that would actually be with the approval of the condition, and as one of the conditions that would come up from the planning commission's council, and then council, you know.
So can we require the owner that he put in stops and lines on his own property?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, you can't require it, we recommend the council
Recommend.
that since these are gonna become residential uses now, we need to see a demarcation of where the residential parking is.
And yet, you have the power to say you can't have this as residential unless you mark the parking spaces. You know, I think this is one of the things we do here in town. We don't ask anything of anybody. This parking lot is really a mess. It's a disaster, and I'm not even saying replace the parking lot, which I would prefer to see, but at least let's delineate the parking, and I still would like a tree in there, but okay. But I think we can ask people to provide things, and why not? They're going to be able to use this as residential for the rest of their lives, and what are we getting there? Not even parking spaces delineated. Residential? Not as good.
We're just approving this to go to public hearing,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
All right, so let me make a motion and we can second and discuss it further. So I move that we allow this request to go to public hearing, and the request being there's 2 residential dwelling units above the first floor on the commercial use at 729, 730 Randolph. In addition, that we allow first floor residential unit at 729 Randolph. In addition, the condition to have striped parking on the property to designate parking for the residences. Or-
No, you were fine until you mentioned the word strike, that's what I got, the
Okay.
progress.
Okay, before there's a second here, what about 7:30 downstairs?
7:30 is
Sorry,
an existing agreed to apartment.
Then I think it'd be nice to say we understand that 7:30 is already an existing residential covered under a separate conditional use permit.
Okay, so I'll add that. 7:30, first floor, 7:30 Randolph, first floor is current residential that this commission recognizes.
Let me tweak that just a little bit. Rather than specifically saying strike, should we not just say parking should be visually obvious? Because that can include,
The bumper.
And it
Exactly.
could, and it could include nothing.
okay, so what would you
Well-
suggest to accommodate both situations?
I don't have a problem with strike. Why do you have a problem with strike?
I don't know that I want to
Can
lay
you
that
say
requirement on.
Say what you said again. What did you say instead of designating the strikes?
Well, he suggested bumpers as an alternative.
No, you said visually obvious.
Yeah, that didn't fly.
No.
But you said bumper or stripe is sufficient.
Just designate it. I mean, it's designated parking, this way you can say that X number
Yeah,
of parking
okay,
is
that's
translated into X
absolutely
number of
fine,
parking
that's fine.
spaces.
That's fine.
So whether it's striped or whether
So
it's.
they get, yeah, they
But
get
does, okay, does designated mean? Everybody read the word designated, would everybody say, oh, that's either a stop or strike? Or would they say, well, gosh, that could just mean anything?
Well, it's not this, it's not the current state, because there's no demarcation
Right.
anywhere.
Right.
So it would need to be obvious. So I mean, it would need to have a width, a depth, a location. I mean, you ask me if people put in a parking space, the expectation is that it's agreed upon what a parking space is. And a parking space can be striped, so you stay within the stripes, or a parking space can be a bumper where you know you pull up in front of it.
Right, then
Or it
let's,
can be
best
the
part is
harvest.
That could be too. I mean, you could put you can mark on the ground 4A, 2A, 2C, whatever it is it might be, and people know that that's the parking for that area, for that unit. A lot of ways to do it. I mean, now we're doing a site plan form.
Okay, so did you mention designated parking there?
Well, I think coupled it with stripe.
Yeah.
The actual motion on the table is strike.
Chairman, at appropriate time to meet.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Spur Turner, I'm representing MLT Enterprise, that's the buyer, contract purchase of the property. What Mr. Mark was related to you is all accurate. This same buyer, I think, was before you with the duplex unit on the corner of Big and Madison some time ago. Their interest is to make 4 residential units, and one of the reasons I wanted to come up, I'm sensitive to comment about it being confusing, it's a little confusing to me. I'm like being involved in this weekend, and I think they've actually been looking at the building and through some design considerations, want to do 4 residential units. They may want to somehow alter, I think it'll probably have to be without altering the facade, to how they're configured. The problem with the one commercial unit downstairs, it gets very little light. It's probably not going to be real conducive for a residential unit unless there's some sort of an upstairs, downstairs, 2-story residential unit. So what I think I would like you to consider is approving this building for 4 residential apartments. the one being grandfathered. I don't think they'd have any problem at all with designating parking areas. One thing about this parking lot, this property is a little bit unusual because it doesn't front on Randolph Avenue. It accesses, it shares the parking lot. Ed Perry built this building and lived in part of it for a while, sold half of it for the dentist's offices. Actually, they don't exactly share the parking lot. Half the parking lot belongs to the self-building. This property has an easement to get across it, and I think there's adequate space there that they could designate in whatever manner the commission found appropriate parking spaces. I don't know if you have any other questions for me, but I want to sort of clarify what is probably not very clear in the application that was submitted. And we would ask if you are able to take this on hearing on November 6th, we appreciate it.
And if they are willing to put in designated parking, let's just put it in the motion.
He has it in there.
He has it. I agree. Is that a problem, strike?
I don't believe so.
Let's leave it in there.
Okay, so we have a motion. Thank you.
One thing about the motion that is pretty specific about residential 2 units upstairs and 2 units downstairs. They would like the flexibility of saying 4 residential units, give them the internal capability of designing it in the way that makes the most sense for the building. That's my thing.
How else would you design it?
Have a building, your unit would have an upstairs and downstairs instead of you being
So then you'd have 3 units instead of 4?
Be 4 total.
So
Like a townhouse.
No, I get it. So if this side is upstairs and downstairs, and this side is 1 up and 1 down, that's great.
no, so what you're saying is that the current grandfathered residential unit would also be configured, could be configured?
Possibly, and I'm sorry I don't have Mr. McCoy here because he's one of the architectural expertise who brought this up to me this weekend. What they were considering when they discovered kind of the lighting issues in the one small unit.
Okay, let me ask a question. If we approve 4 and they decide they want 3, do they have to come back so we can amend the conditional use permit to say 3?
No, because if the downstairs unit would go back to by right commercial, but that would be the only option, without having to come back here to get another conditional use for, instead of 4, 3. So any other internal configurations that change what's
Number of
approved
units.
would have to come back unless
Okay.
it reverts to a downstairs commercial.
So-
Always by right.
So let me just, another clarification here. So if he decides to put in the townhouse feel, so you have, I guess that would be 729, you would have an upstairs, downstairs, so you're splitting that commercial space into 2. And if you wanted to revert, that's on, that would have to, back to commercial, he would have to configure it back that way, right?
Well, you wouldn't be able to go access the residential from the commercial. So whatever that interior stairwell looks like in that now sort of townhouse.
Because we'll have to have 4 entrances, really on the first floor.
4 independent entrances on the first floor.
Yeah.
Unless there's an apartment on both sides upstairs and that central door is a stairwell.
That's what it is now.
So then you don't really need 3.
Yeah, but he's talking about, for the lighting conditions, he may want to have like a living area downstairs and upstairs bedroom. And you could have 4 of those identical, that's what you're saying.
Well,
But give him the option.
we're saying 4.
Right.
If he
Well,
comes back,
no,
It is, we said
And
to
what-
above to below.
all right, then let's say 4. Is that acceptable?
Yes, we have to do his motion.
That's a- Yeah. Is that acceptable? Just to say 4 dwelling unit? Does he have, do you have to go before the historic review?
Unless they change anything exterior. If they change anything exterior, the answer is yes.
Okay. All right, so if they make it 4 townhouses, then 4 townhouse looks, they'd have to go before the historic review. So somebody else is going to look at it.
If they make 4 townhouses.
Well, he's saying,
If they add a
look,
door,
that way.
if they change out a door to window to a door, that's a trip to the store.
Okay, just, I'm good.
If they continue to work through that stairway, that's not a trip to the store.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So how does it read? Can you question?
So I'm looking at this picture, sir, and your client has only purchased or going to purchase or in the process of purchasing the left-hand side of the building?
Well, the picture you see is, it's really sort of two buildings that have a party wall.
Yeah, I see that. This is the dentist over here on the right. Is
The
the
dentist.
dentist staying or is he?
No, not in the picture.
Not in the picture.
It's not in the
Separate
picture.
building.
Ah,
If you look at the plat, there's a property line that goes through.
doesn't matter anymore. Thank you.
All right. Do you want to amend?
No, what I want to do is have nobody second it, so it's killed, and we'll start over.
So, do I have a second on the first? I've got to ask if there's a second. And if there's no second, then it's going to be killed. It'll start all over again, right? All right.
All right, I'm going to try.
Okay, speak.
All right, recognizing that the first floor has a residential unit on 730 Randolph, I am proposing that we allow this building in its entirety to have 4 residential dwelling units at 729, 730 Randolph, with the condition that we ask that, well, we require that the parking spaces be delineated by stripes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
We have any further discussion? Okay. And we'll try to get this to the November 6th public hearing.
Yeah.
Do we have a vote yet?
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to make sure.
If we're still in discussion,
We got a second here.
right.
Right.
If the commission is still in discussion, then if there's any other amendments that the commission, well, any other amendments that the commission would like to see to the application, for the sake of clarification.
Any?
No.
Okay.
Then we've got a motion and a second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Opposed?
Nay.
Right.
Doesn't make any difference.
Right. Passes. All right, so now, you said we could try to get this, we have the time limit to have a public hearing on the 6th of November?
What we would do, it'd have to go and advertise in the paper, well, it would have to go to the paper next week to be advertised for the 19th and 26th.
All right.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And the advertisement is going to be around motions or
All right. Any other business? Any other business? Just as a, okay, any announcements? I have one. Next month is November, that's November 6th, which is also election day. But that shouldn't have any problem here. We don't have anybody that's working the election day that won't be able to make it. We also have election, our election.
Oh, right.
Next November.
Yep.
In November.
for
Chairman and vice chairman.
Are you staying?
No,
That'll be a fun meeting.
Have you been to the, Keith, have you been to the training?
I have not.
Oh,
I need to do
All
All three of them?
oh my goodness.
But isn't the next
We've been-
one
we've been
February or
through it,
something?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That means, Libby needs to get that, because they need to really get
Yeah, I-
that. We had three of us go at one time,
Right.
when I went, so Sandra and,
Alright.
and Dan, so.
I had budgeted two. But we had three. So-
And Larry and I had discussed that, so it's not his fault, it's my schedule's fault.
All right. Because it's a great course, so.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's all on the same page.
We have homework.
All right. Any other announcements? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Aye.